And now,
ladies and gentlemen,
please fasten your seatbelts.
Welcome to PreneurCast.
You know, business cards being swapped, beers being drunk.
Can I say a nasty word? Can I say procrastination?
With Pete Williams and Dom Gocher.
how well did that go down?
We can talk about that entire thing in a very another rant and soapbox episode if we want to.
Visit us online at PreneurMedia.tv.
Hello everyone and welcome to this week's edition of PreneurCast with me, Dom Goucher, and him, Pete Williams.
How's things, everyone? How are we?
Pretty good, pretty good. Getting close to the end of 2012 with this episode, Pete.
We are. Absolutely.
It's been a bit of an eventful year, hasn't it?
Lots of crazy stuff happening and lots of crazier stuff planned for 2013, which is very cool.
That's right, and we'll announce some of that later, maybe. But let's jump in. As it's getting close to the end of the year, I think people are kind of packing up and knocking off and doing all that last day of whatever it is you do kind of stuff. Let's get into it. Pete, this week I wanted to talk about something. Somebody asked me a question the other day, and it actually made me think. They said, what are the top 10 tools that you use every day? Now, we talk about a lot of stuff. If you go back and think about it, we talk about a lot of things that we think are cool, and we do the annual awards show and stuff like that. But when somebody asked me, I've realized over this year, I've changed what I do. I've changed how I work, and I've changed a lot of the tools that I use. So I thought it was a good thing to review at the end of the year and just to see if you're still using the same things or if you've changed yours. So is that okay for you today?
Sounds good. Yeah, let's. Pardon me. Sorry. There. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good session, good conversation, and if it's a question people want to know the answer to, then let's chat about it.
Cool. So I'll just give you a bit of context of where I'm coming from with this, because if somebody had asked me this, say, middle of the year, my first response would have been ScreenFlow, my go-to app for recording the screen, right?
Yep.
And also for doing all kinds of video editing. Now, I still recommend it, I really do, but going forward, I'm just not using that tool. It's not part of my everyday workflow because I've done that thing that we talked about at the beginning of the year. I've got away from the mechanics of the job.
So actually, you're listening to the show and implementing.
It's amazing, isn't it? I'm listening to the show and I'm implementing, which is what we love to hear from our listeners. but seriously, I'm using ScreenFlow so much. A lot of that was because I was doing the mechanics. I was doing the work. I was delivering to the end client and so on. And I found I'm not using it so much. And that's what really made me stand back and think, well, what am I using? All these tools and pieces of gear and stuff that I used to use pretty much every day are not part of my core thing. And it's because I'm changing what I do and I'm changing the emphasis of how I'm involved in the business. So for me, I mean, I think given the length of the show that we like to keep to, I think we could probably keep it to I'll do 5, you do 5. Is that?
No, sounds like a good plan.
I think my top 5 now are completely different to my top 5 before, and the second 5 are probably the same. So the big thing for me this year, and it's something we've mentioned before, but the way I use this has completely changed. The big thing for me this year is Evernote. Evernote is now the thing that is always on my screen.
Yep.
Always. More than email, more than any other tool, Evernote is there. It's always on my screen, and I'm pretty much interacting with it all day because how I use it has completely changed. I used to use it as a place to file things when I got round to filing things.
Yep.
And now I'm using it both as an inbox in the sense of the getting things done, the David Allen techniques. I'm using it as my place to capture the things that I need to do something with. First of all, but second of all, I'm also using it as a kind of a project tracking, project management tool.
Okay.
Which is, I know we've been big OmniFocus people for a long time. We talk about OmniFocus all the time, but I was finding that I was going in and out of needing OmniFocus, needing the complexity and needing the detail. And I just wanted to try something else. I came across this technique that we talked about this recently inside of our Platinum group. I found this thing called the secret weapon. Which sounds really kind of ominous, but it's like a white paper that was written by a bunch of people that have nothing to do with technology or anything. I think they make energy drinks or something, but you can look it up. The secret weapon. If you do a search for GTD and the secret weapon, you'll find it online, and it's a way of using there I go saying it already. It's a way of using Evernote as a GTD tool, as a getting things done management tool. Now, it's a little bit involved, it's a little bit elaborate, as all things where you take a generic tool and you try and make it do something specific. And I've really modified what they say to do because it didn't quite work for me because of the way my business works. But I'm really getting into it. It's really helping me a lot. And it was just shocking, as I say, just to kind of go back over and elaborate that point again, that in, let's say, 6 months, I've gone from my dominant tool, the thing that I was using the most every day, all day, was ScreenFlow, and now I barely use it. And I've gone to this higher level role in the business where I'm now using what's more of a management tool to keep an eye on what's going on, and other people are doing the do. So I guess it's kind of a dual purpose conversation, this one for me.
You're being a case study at the same time, which is very cool.
Yeah.
See, I would say Evernote for me is still one of my top 10 tools that I use regularly, but I'm still using it in that digital filing cabinet manner, in that it is where I store files. I don't do any sort of active work inside Evernote. It is just a digital filing cabinet for me more than anything else. Maybe I need to explore it more and look at it for things like that, but to me it is just a filing cabinet. And I've, using it with that in terms of like Chrome add-ons and things like that. So when I go and search Google and just have a Google search results page appear inside my Chrome browser, it also searches my Evernote file for me at the same time and manipulates the page a little bit to show me stuff that's inside Chrome. Because I'll think, I remember reading that or seeing that, whatever it might be, and I'll try and search it on Google, obviously, as most people do. But quite often that file, that piece of information or that quote or that reference is from something that I've read, a PDF or an article I've clipped, that I then can actually have appear in the same search result. So I just use Google as my search engine now, but it searches my archive, my digital filing cabinet, being Evernote, as well as the World Wide Web, which is very, very cool.
And that I think that's really what got me revisiting Evernote. Was I was using it as this occasional place to put things, and I got inspired first of all by you, and then by David Sparks and the Mac Sparky podcast, because they talk about it a lot using Evernote, and I just thought I'm going to try this, and that Chrome plugin for the Chrome web browser, where you can be first of all you can, the most simplest thing, you can be on any web page. And one of the really bad habits that happens in our whole house, not just me, but in the whole house, is that if I would walk away from a machine for any reason and somebody would want to use that machine, I would say, whoa, don't close anything, because I'd have like 20 tabs open in the web browser of things that I was looking at or wanted to do something with, or that were somehow vaguely relevant to whatever was going on. And I even got to one point where I'd got Chrome set up so that if I closed it, it would reopen those tabs. Yep. It's an incredibly bad habit. It's almost like the worst manifestation of the nightmare scenario that Robert Allen talks about in GTD and getting things done, where you've got this mental RAM being used up, this memory or processing in your brain being used up subconsciously, because all these things are self-created open loops that are just using up energy. And now what I do is, if I find something I'm interested in or that's relevant to a project, I literally just boop and I just hit the Evernote button. Pops up a little box, says, "What do you want to do? Do you want to capture the address? Do you want to capture the contents of the page? Do you want to capture just a bit that you highlighted? And do you want to add any tags or a description to remind yourself what you wanted it for?" And that's it. And it's like in seconds, it goes, it's in, and I'll close that tab.
Yeah.
And that alone was just cleaned up my workflow, cleaned up my machine, cleaned up everything, and that's why I started revisiting it. Then on the different applications, like on different equipment, revelation. I've recently got an iPhone.
Welcome to the 21st century.
Yeah, I know. I'm actually segueing because the iPhone is the other tool that is now with me every day. It's not even an up-to-date one. It's a 3GS. I got it because we were spending so much time in the US, you and I, during the Profit Hacks launch, and I needed a phone that I could have with me there, and I got an old iPhone because I could unlock it and use it over there, and then use it when I got back to Spain. And I can't live without the thing because I use it again with Evernote. If I see something, I take a photograph with the iPhone, and that's something our friend Ed Dale talked about years ago. So I really am so far behind the curve, it's flat. Because Evernote reads pictures. So if I take a picture of a business card or a poster or a sign or a label or anything to remember it, it automatically gets sent to Evernote, and away you go. Yeah. And I say, I mean, I will put my hand up with this. It's ironic because I'm considered, the technological one of the crowd, but the iPhone, it was just one of those things that I didn't need to be connected all the time. Where I am and what I do, I didn't need to be connected, and that was what I saw an iPhone as, was a way of being connected all the time. But it's actually a very, very functional device for lots of other reasons.
Yeah. And
connected to something powerful like Evernote or all the other millions of apps you can load on it, and away you go.
Well,
and so are you the same with it, or?
Yeah, look, I'm a big user of my iPhone, particularly the Evernote app. It's definitely something that I use almost daily in some form or another, with photos and notes and stuff like that. But something I wanted to mention in terms of a tool that I use that I use on my Mac that sort of helps me maximize my Evernote usage is a tool which is like a system tool called Hazel. And what Hazel, I just want to give one quick workflow for Hazel. So basically what Hazel does is you can create all these general rules, some sort of if-then type rules on your computer. And I've actually created a folder that sits on my Mac, which I've just called Droplet, Droplet. Nothing too sexy, it's just Droplet app. And basically what I've got a Hazel rule that says anytime I put a file in that Droplet folder, automatically put it into my Evernote account and then delete the file. So basically, if I get a good email with an attachment, if I see a PDF on a website that I want to keep, what I'll do, I'll just go File, Save, and save that file into the Droplet folder. And then Hazel sees there's a file in that folder and automatically throws it into Evernote for me, and that automatically gets synced up. So that's sort of one way I'll do that quite often. If I download something or I like it, I'm not quite sure, I'll do that. I've also got another folder I've called Temp, which is just a folder on the Mac. And I've got a Hazel rule that says anytime something's in that folder for more than, I think it's 21 days, delete it. So you know what, when you're browsing the web, we're getting emails, whatever it might be, you have to download all these files to open them up, or just to do something really quickly with, or to print it, or whatever the heck it might be. And
I know this guy who sends lots of audio files attached to emails.
Yep, there you go. Someone like that as well. So I'm now using this temp folder as my temporary storage thing, knowing that it's going to get cleaned out automatically after 21 days. So my downloads folder is used when I want to download something that's going to, I want to have it around for a while for whatever particular reason. But this temp folder is what it says. It's a temp folder, but Hazel is actually automatically cleaning that up for me, which is really cool. So they're really cool two little hacks I use with Hazel that's made my life a bit easier this year. So that's one of the tools that kind of ties back into Evernote a little bit as well.
That's awesome. I don't actually use Hazel. I keep thinking I might get round to it, but I'm one of those people, you know me, even though I know all about technologies and stuff, I like to do something in the simplest, cheapest, easiest possible, quickest possible way first, until I reach the limit of the capabilities of whatever that thing is, and then I'll upgrade. It's like the iPhone. I didn't need an iPhone, so I didn't just go and buy one and sign up for a contract. And I keep looking at Hazel because it's just so cool. It is Mac centric. It's only on the Mac as far as I know. I'm sure there's something on the PC that's similar, but it is that ability to just give it these rules to do things like watch this folder and do this thing. Because adding files to Evernote is one of those things that actually I'm really bad at.
Yeah.
And I would get it just for that, I think. Now that you've talked about it, I might get it just for that, because you're right. It's like if I've got a PDF, I've got to kind of go into Evernote and then I've got to attach it, but then I've got to create something to attach it to, and it's a bit odd from that point of view. But yeah, that's a great little hack. And that, oddly enough, is one of those things that I don't know. You might not always remember that it's one of the things you use every day, because it just sits there in the background and does stuff for you. But that's a very powerful tool. Cool. Again, talking about this higher level management thing and being more involved in running a team. One of the things, and this is from you and your team, and as we started to work together more on projects, I got involved with more and more of your team after the truly awesome and magnificent Flow. all hail Flow. And I got exposed to Passpack this year, and I can't recommend it enough. I literally cannot recommend it enough. It really popped up a lot in any discussion about outsourcing or outtasking. A lot of the Profit Hacks people that we talk to, it's like that tip alone, they just think that's the best thing they've ever heard of. And Passpack, for anyone who's not using it, is a service that allows you to store your passwords and other secure information online, but it's not unusual in that. But the big thing about it is you can share records in the database with other people who also have Passpack accounts, like an outsourcer. And before you go like running off and saying, "Oh, I don't want to store all my dangerous stuff online," etc., the security on this thing is ridiculous.
Absolutely.
It's got X level security with all kinds of. It's got everything short of biometric scanners to actually sign in. But it's this ability to share the record. So a classic example is I want somebody to update one of my websites, one of my many websites, which is another conversation we've been having recently. And so. Whoever they are, I tell them to sign up for a free Passpack account, which is another great thing about it, is that the base level Passpack is free, so there's no reason for anybody not to sign up for it. And then when they sign up and let me know what their name is, their username on Passpack is, I literally go into Passpack, click share, find the record I want, click share. And they get an email saying, "Hey, this person has just shared something with you." Next time they log into Passpack, they've got this secure record of all the data that you need them to have, no more, no less. And when you're done, you at your end just untick the box that says that record's been shared. And that's it. They can't see it anymore. And then if you want to be super secure, you can change the password, and all's done. And that is amazing. I mean, first of all, it's one place to put all my passwords where I actually can find them, which is added value in itself. Yeah. But this ability to share, and I have to say thanks to you and the team for kind of bringing that to my attention.
Yeah,
it's really changed the way that I work.
Yeah, we use that for all our team members, because obviously we've got a whole range of outsourcers that work in the information publishing side of the business, but also in the actual development team who develop all our e-commerce sites. In our accounts team, we've got a whole bunch of outsourcers working there who are logging into different services and solutions we have. So yeah, using Passpack is fantastic for that, because it is that one central repository, and based on the job role and the team they're in, they get access to certain levels of passwords. But myself and a couple of the high-level team members can see everything, which is such an efficient way to do it. Which is great. I still use 1Password every single day myself for my own personal passwords. So the stuff, my own personal accounts and things, I still keep on 1Password. But the team related stuff, the stuff anything's going to get shared with the team, that goes into Passpack, and it's brilliant.
And I know a lot of people that do that. I know a lot of people that have Passpack as their business infrastructure management and 1Password for personal stuff. Not least of which because 1Password has all the apps for things like the iPhone, the iPad, and the desktop app, and it has that extra feature where it will fill things out for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can sort of just have one-click login. So you open up your 1Password app, either the browser extension or the software, and you can just search. I want to go to Gmail or whatever it might be. Click a button, it actually loads up the gmail.com website and logs in for you all in one click. So those sort of functionalities are really handy as well.
Yeah, and I mean, both these things will store more than just passwords. And that was a Mac Sparky tip as well, by the way, that David Sparks and Katie Lloyd, the two people on Mac Sparky, talk about 1Password a lot, because you can store all manner of things in there, like little text notes or whatever. I don't know how far 1Password goes, but Passpack certainly has a note attributed to every record.
Yeah.
So it's more than just your passwords. So cool. I mean, but again, it's like that high level thing when you start dealing with somebody other than yourself. It literally was, I think, one of the most commonly asked questions in some of the kind of the Profit Hacks Q&A that we did, kind of through the support tickets and whatever else. People just saying to us, that first time round, it was one of those things, because we manage teams, we run teams, a lot of people are moving away from being solo entrepreneurs to having a team, and it's just a great worry for people. How do I allocate these passwords? How do I send passwords securely, and how do I manage the fact that somebody's got a password for something that's important to me when I don't want them to have it anymore? And Passpack is that answer, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely.
So the big, another one of those big shifts for me this year has been in how I'm producing content. And my core content, I have to say, is still video. I'm still the video guy. I do, and myself and my team do a lot of production work still. And if I'm producing content, but a bigger shift for me now is going more towards what we're doing right now, which is we're producing content, right? We're producing high-value content, and we're doing it in the easiest way we know how, one of our world-famous profit hacks, which is that we are recording a Skype call. And that's what we're doing. I'm using Skype and a piece of software on the Mac called Call Recorder. And this has become a huge part of my workflow now. It was one of those things that I think I really just used it with you and I to start with. And again, it was something that you introduced me to when we first got started making this podcast. But now it's something that I use to produce all kinds of content because it's just so easy. It's just there. And every Skype call that I have the opportunity to record it. And if it's an interview with somebody, it becomes content immediately without any trouble. And it's become a really big part of what I do, rather than just something that's there on the side.
Yeah.
And I know you. I mean, you do the same. All the interviews that you do are recorded the same way, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, I've actually set my Skype status to actually say, please note, call recorder always running, just so that way when I'm on a conversation on Skype, no matter who it's with, whether it's with a team member, whether it's with a business partner or a consulting client or something like this or whatever it might be, the Skype call is getting recorded and the person knows that. So if there's some gold there, I have it. Like, this is the beautiful thing with digital age we live in, that it doesn't cost anything to have everything recorded. And you never know when you might want to have it referenced. With consulting clients, obviously they get a copy of the recording for reference. With a business partner, you might want to go, hang on, what do we negotiate or discuss at that point? With like a colleague, you might, or like a mastermind sort of person, you might go, hang on, that was some really cool information, we should share it with somebody else. It's one of those things that having those systems in place, like Call Recorder always running, recording every call, you just have that. And then I just, once a week have that, backed up and just, copied across from my desktop, save calls folder just into a USB, 2 terabyte drive that then just archives it all for future reference.
Cool. And that is a great tip. I mean, that's something maybe you could even set up a Hazel rule to do if you haven't already.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing I don't know about Hazel, I'm sure it would work, is that if it's trying to copy those files off my desktop into this external hard drive and it's not actually always connected, does it have some sort of hissy fit, or does it just realise that it'll wait till that actual drive's connected? I'm sure it's smart enough to realise that, but I'm just not too sure. Good
question. Don't know. I'm not. Maybe when I finally pick up Hazel, I'll work that one out for you.
That'd be great.
So the as well as the iPhone, which has played a major part in my life, I think the one kind of consistent thing in terms of equipment that has stayed with me, and it's still possibly a little bit behind the curve, but what has stayed with me this year, it has been my iPad. Now, we talked about this last year, when you got your first iPad, and how much of a push you needed to get one. Because you were like me with the iPad, you were like me, like I was with the iPhone. With the iPad, you were like, why do I need one of those? What do I need that for? Yeah? And when you finally got one and realised the value it gave you, it became part of your life.
Well, see, I'd say that, Fleur uses our iPad more than I do. I still haven't found a great use for it. And I think for me, to be completely open, the issue I have with it is that the 1Password app that stores my life, as we spoke about before, on the iPad is there and it's good. But it's kind of clunky. It's not like I'm not like inside Chrome on the iPad and click a button and suddenly have my passwords ready to go out of the app, log into 1Password, copy it, go back to Chrome, paste it in, or use a real crappy built-in browser that comes with 1Password. So I find that really heavily frictioned. So it's not an easy thing to use. So I'm still struggling, except for reading the odd book on it. I still haven't found a great, easy, seamless integration to my workflow. So the iPad does kind of get used by Fleur a lot more than I do.
And oddly enough, the iPad in our house is slowly being taken over by my partner. But we're contemplating getting another one because while I'm out and about or doing the chores, we talk a lot about audiobooks that we listen to audiobooks a lot to consume a lot of content because there's a lot of content out there that we want to consume. But I'm still an actual reader. I still like to read things and copy or paste, kind of mark up or indicate or whatever. And that's really where the iPad has become the dominant part of my life. It was already there as a way of getting away from the desk, as a way of reviewing social media, interacting with people, just checking in, so that I got out of the office and I could go wherever, go and sit on a terrace outside or whatever. And I found it very useful for that. But I'm really starting to use it. This is something I've got to if it's something I've captured to Evernote that I want to review, an article that I've scraped from online, for example, or a PDF that I've downloaded, or some PDF content from a course or an ebook or whatever, then it gets stacked up on the iPad, and then I go away from the office, away from the desk, go and sit somewhere comfy, maybe even in a local coffee shop or whatever, and I use it as a consumption device. I'm still not got into this thing that a lot of people are on about online at the moment as a kind of a laptop replacement if you're into writing. But then I don't do that much writing, just pure writing. I do a lot of kind of document creation, but I need more powerful tools. So it's a consumption device, but I guess I'm actually consuming more stuff on it because of Evernote, where I'm scraping the things into Evernote and then using it for that. So it's kind of connected to that workflow as well.
Yep. No, fair enough.
Cool. So I've kind of gone on. I mean, this has been almost a Dom show. This is quite scary. That's how much I've been talking. Apologies to anybody who doesn't like my accent at this point. Tough. But I've mentioned a few things and you've mentioned a few things. But is there anything else that I haven't talked about that is a big part of what you do?
Yeah, look, I think, for me, TextExpander is a huge part of my daily workflow on my Mac, obviously, in terms of the ability to have so many shortcuts. And I've got so many sort of little snippets inside TextExpander, everything from little subject lines to email replies and project tags and stuff like that. That is something that I have a habit of using now. So on someone else's machine, I just go into Pete mode and start typing all those weird snippets, and you look back at the page and it's just looking like a dog's breakfast. So TextExpander is something that I do use quite a bit. And it's not something as simple as Evernote, I don't think, that you can open up and start using on a daily basis without kind of building the habit, because obviously you got to think of what the text snippet and expansion will be, how it can be used, and then obviously build it, and then obviously just get in the habit of using it, which takes time. But once you do, it is just awesome in terms of that scenario. So that's something that I do use on a very, very regular basis.
Yeah, that scenario of being on someone else's machine, because we spent so much time in the States, as you know, I picked up something. I'm going to sneak a special mention in. Okay, I know I've talked a lot, but I'm going to sneak a special mention in, because one of the most amazing things for me this year was the MacBook Air that I bought, so that I could spend as much time as I did in Florida with the Profit Hacks launch.
Yeah.
I needed a machine that was mine, rather than kind of borrowing or renting or whatever. Because as you say, with things like TextExpander and Hazel and the tools that we do use, we set machines up and they work a certain way. And if you haven't got it, and you go to a machine like someone else's, you do find yourself. TextExpander, for anybody who doesn't know, is a tool that sits there in the background on a Mac and watches what you type. And if you type a certain sequence of keys, it holds a database of text, like paragraphs, passages, whole emails, anything that you could possibly think of to type, it'll hold it. And you can type as little as 2 or 3 unique letters in a row, and it'll fill things out. So we use it for absolutely everything. I use it to put the day's date in. I use it for putting my address in. I use it for form emails, as you said, Pete. I mean, you've got hundreds and hundreds. I don't use it anywhere near as much as you. But the funny thing is if you see somebody who uses TextExpander use a machine that doesn't have it on, as you say, because when I first got my MacBook Air, I was traveling. I had to pick it up while I was traveling, so it didn't have everything on it. And TextExpander was one of the things I didn't have installed. And for the first, I don't know how many days, I was constantly typing my little sequences of letters, and things would turn up with just like these most random things in them because TextExpander hadn't kicked in, replaced the letters I typed with, say, today's date. Just something simple like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I completely agree. I'm a big user of TextExpander, but I wouldn't say I use it anywhere near as much as you do. But to just kind of push the MacBook Air again, because I was amazed, totally amazed, how powerful that machine was, and how much of even the video editing stuff that I do, I could do on it without it causing any kind of trouble. When they first came out, people were like, "Oh, what's that? It's pointless. It can barely look at a web page." They were just a kind of almost a proof of concept, I guess. But they've really come into their own now, and I can wholeheartedly recommend it. And you and I have talked about it on a number of occasions about what your next machine might be, and even you're considering one.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think for the stuff I do, it does make sense really to have a MacBook Air. The only thing that worries me is the screen size. Like, I've got my 15-inch at the moment, and obviously the largest MacBook Air is a 13-inch, and it's just 2 inches. They can do a lot, Dom. They can do a lot.
And as always, moving swiftly on.
So I guess another thing that I use quite regularly is I'm trying to think of things that we haven't spoken about in the show before, because we can sit here and talk all day about OmniFocus and stuff like that. But something that and Dropbox is another tool we use regularly. But two sort of tools that we do use on a daily basis that we haven't spoken about before and probably people don't know too much about, which I thought I'd share to sort of tie up my side of this, is BusyCal. And it's a MacBook app again. I know for people who are PC, probably, sorry for living in the dark ages, but, that's what it is when you use a PC. BusyCal is a replacement for your MacBook calendar, and it does a lot of other cool stuff, primarily syncing. Because I have, a PA and, VAs and stuff in Philippines and all that sort of stuff, I've got a lot of people who help control my diary and my attention. So from that, I need a solution that allows multiple team members to be able to add stuff and take stuff and control and look at my calendar. And BusyCal allows that. So we're using our Google Calendar as our foundation for everything. And then BusyCal basically can sync that to my Mac, which then syncs to my iPhone and all that sort of stuff. So it's basically the one intermediary that allows me to have multiple calendars working from multiple people on multiple machines on multiple platforms. And that's something that we do in the background. It just works every single day for us.
Cool. Because I think a lot of people out there, again, it's this thing about when there's just you, there's lots and lots of different ways of doing things, and you don't notice it because you just do it. But when there's more than you, when you've got to work with a team, as you say, when you even have people who, as you make appointments for you, for example.
Yeah.
And I think in big business, I mean, there are a lot of solutions out there in big business. There are a lot of the Microsoft Office products, and integrated with Microsoft Exchange Server and this, that, and the other. But I guess there is that grey area between where there's just you and multinational companies, where you need a solution to let you move gently, slowly, and without spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And so BusyCal, I've looked at BusyCal. I don't need it right now, but I've looked at it, and definitely if I needed it, it's a great solution to just extend the usefulness of the kind of cross-platform Google stuff and bring it into our world of maybe iPhone, iPad, or other kind of things like that.
Cool. And the last tool that we use is something that I don't think you and I have ever spoken about, but it's something that I do use every single day. And it's a web-based service from an Australian company called Bugherd. 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 And it is probably, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best, website bug maintenance programs going around. And because obviously, across Preneur and Infinity and Simply and Finger Food and Outdoor and all the different businesses that obviously is under our umbrella, we have a great number of websites that are live and active generating traffic for us. And obviously as things progress and change and tweak, we need to have a lot of, a finger on the pulse, so to speak, with these websites for ads, moves and changes regularly. And obviously, if you're trying to email them around team members and all that sort of stuff, it can be an absolute nightmare. But what Bugherd does is you drop a little bit of code on every one of your web pages. And then what it allows you to do is visually mark up changes. So I can literally go to any page on any one of our websites and literally, for want of a better example, drop a pin. So I can click on an element of the page, it drops a pin, pulls up a little box saying, what do you want to have done here? And I can say, change this headline to blah, blah, blah. This opt-in box is no longer working. These footer links are dead. This thing needs to change here. Or that offer that's in the banner on our e-commerce site is no longer relevant. Can someone please change that? Whatever it might be. And then all those visual bugs go back into a back-end repository that our project manager can look at and go, okay, this makes sense. And then assign them to different team members, whether they're in our office in Melbourne, whether they're part of our Sydney team, whether they're in Philippines or Vietnam, wherever they're based. They can actually then, again, physically and visually see what I'm actually referring to. It's not just some email saying, hey, on that page, can you go and change the banner? They can visually see exactly what's wrong and what's being changed. And I find that, and now our team find that an absolute lifesaver for managing website changes and requests. It's absolutely awesome.
That is quite amazing. I'm just as you're talking, I'm just looking at it. At bugherd.com. We'll put a link to all these things in the show notes, by the way, folks. But that, yes, no, we haven't talked about it because it's not. We kind of don't work on those projects together. But as I grow my platform of web properties, it's definitely something that I'm going to make a note of. That's fantastic.
It is a really cool app.
That's amazing.
So that's something that we use quite a lot.
That's cool. So wrapping up as we get close to time on this one. We, as you say, you've actually brought new things in there rather than keeping this core to the top 10 tools we use every day. I think one of the things is that a lot of things we use every day are things that we don't think about because we use them so much. And I'm going to see if you agree with this, but the thing I haven't mentioned, and the thing I think that I've used for the longest and that has made the most significant difference to just about every part of what I do, has been Dropbox.
Yeah.
If I was to say to somebody, anybody thinking of working online and being involved with any kind of team or clients or anything, then I would say the first thing you should do is go out and get a Dropbox account and get your team to get Dropbox accounts. Because that to me has made pretty much the most significant difference to anything that I've done. It's enabled a lot of my business in the last few years. It's enabled more business because of my clients being able to simply get things to me and me to simply get things to my team than anything. I think I probably could have lived without Skype more than I can live without Dropbox.
See, this is where I would differentiate. I would argue that Skype makes communication a lot easier. All Dropbox does is make FTP easier, and you could always use FTP. But if you had to try and do this sort of stuff on the phone and record conversations, I would struggle without Skype. All
right, and this is why. Okay, that I'm gonna pick up a little thing here. We talk about we've talked about this, and we emphasize it sometimes about how much you get involved in the actual mechanics of business, right? And this is a key point. I love the fact that you don't get involved in the mechanics of business, and that you are at the higher level. You manage teams, and they have to worry about problems. But if I were to do a poll of how many people who listen to this show, A, know what FTP means, and B, as you say it, can just use it.
Fair point.
I don't think the stats would be good. Even more so, and this is why I recommend it for people who deal with clients, even the most technically savvy person, and I kind of win that game, like me, has clients who rely on them because they're not technically savvy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and therefore trying to coach somebody through the technology challenges. It's like, you know, how many times, I doubt you've ever had the conversation, but I've lost count of the number of times that I've had to say, no, I'm sorry, you can't attach that video file to an email. I know it says it's going to work, but it's not. Trust me.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why Dropbox makes a difference to me. It's the fact that basically anybody, by the way, if you haven't, there'll be a link in the show notes. Please get yourself a Dropbox account. But if you don't know what Dropbox is, it's in the simplest form. It creates it creates a folder on your computer, and as long as your computer is connected to the internet, whatever you put in that folder goes up into the internet, or as they call it now, the cloud, and then anybody else you can share the contents either individually, file by file, or as a whole folder with anybody else with a Dropbox account. And as long as they're connected to the internet, that file automatically gets downloaded onto their computer. So it's basically like a little magic portal that anything you put in that folder appears on that other person's folder. And vice versa. If they put something in, it comes back to you. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to send any messages. There's no attaching, no anything. It's literally, if you can put a file somewhere in a folder on your computer, then you can get that file to another person. And it sounds so simple, but if you deal in the kind of business that I deal in, where everything is a file of one description or another, video, audio, photos, graphics, whatever, or you deal with a team who are working for you and you want to get things like PowerPoint presentations to them, or you want to get anything, documents, Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, whatever, then it's just I'm going to use a big word here, Pete. Ubiquitous technology. Do you like that word?
Very nice. Good work.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know if there's anything more important to you, something that you use more in a ubiquitous manner than Dropbox. Is there?
No. I'll let you have that.
That's very. Here you go. Another big word. That's very magnanimous of you, sir.
This is scary, man. I'm starting to get out of my territory with these big words.
Yeah, but you make them up. There is actually, these are real words. Okay, Folks, getting close to the end of the year. Next week's show is going to be our traditional year-end awards show. So looking forward to that, Pete. Looking forward to what's impressed you.
Yep.
But hopefully this little roundup of tools has helped people. And hopefully, we look forward to your feedback both on iTunes and on PreneurMedia.tv, where you'll find all the transcripts and past episodes of the show. Do drop us a note. Let us know what you think of the show. We love to get your feedback and any ideas for any future shows where we can answer your questions. And looking forward to speaking to you next week.
Sounds great. See you then.
You've been enjoying another fine episode of PreneurCast with Pete Williams and Dom Gosher. Make sure to hang out with the boys online at PreneurMedia.tv or drop them a line via PreneurCast@PreneurGroup.com.